Greetings, geeks. I'm here today with you, with my good friend Amber from Road to Tarvalon, for updates on your favorite Star Wars series, The Acolyte.
This just in.
This
No,
just in.
I'm really excited about this because in our previous episode, we kind of hammered down the fact that I'm very not connected to the Star Wars fandom, the source material, the Easter eggs, the ins and outs of all things Star Wars. So when we talked earlier today, or was that last night?
Yeah.
You were kind of under the impression like this episode is a stinker for me.
Oh man, I do have to say I am not happy with this episode. Now, but I want to offer a couple of disclaimers though. I'm not going to come out here and poo-poo on, I don't know, anything political. If you're going to go into race or sexual preference or anything like that,
the grifty wokeism,
absolutely nothing to do with those.
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely nothing to do with that. I do not care. I'm going to echo what Star Wars Theory said. He straight up said, nerds don't care about your sexual preference. We just care about cool nerd shit. We just want a cool story.
Can I ask, what are there people saying that they don't like this because of someone's sexual preference in the show?
Well, okay, so I've not found anyone. I've not personally found anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big world out there, and I am not that well connected. But I have not found anyone who has said the Acolyte is garbage because of the gayness. I have not found anyone that said that.
Who's gay in the show?
The only thing I can even find that represents gayness in the show was that it's a coven of female witches that created life. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know that anybody that I've seen and if you're one of these people, that's like, sexuality has no place in the Star Wars universe, and that's why I hate it, like, please, by all means, leave a comment. Not asking you to out yourself or anything like that. I'm just saying.
But if you want to.
What I have seen is there were interviews done where the guy interviewing the showrunner was like, yeah, nerds are really threatened by gay people. And it was like,
are they though?
Are they? Are they? Or are you making mountains out of molehills? Because yeah, there are always going to be, I've always said that there are going to be two kinds of people who object to something. One is going to be people who don't understand, and they're going to say, whoa, I don't get that. And then you're going to be able to sit down with them and say, well, this and this and this and this and this. And then at the end of the day, even if they disagree with you, they're going to be like, okay, cool. Like, I still don't agree, but it's cool that you feel that way, and I'm cool with that. And those are great people. We want to encourage that because we want to encourage discussion and in understanding and gaining an understanding. And the second kind of person who's going to object is going to be a person who is never going to be happy with anything. They're just objecting because they are a wounded animal and need to spread their vitriol and negativity, and fuck those people. I'm sorry. I have zero patience for those people. I am happy to talk to you. I'm happy to disagree with you. I'm happy to go through it all and have the fun with it. Because that's part of the fun of Star Wars, is I can sit down and talk with my friends and say, oh my God, this was so cool. Oh, I thought it was so stupid. You thought it was stupid. Why do you think it was stupid? No, because back in episode 3, when they did this and this, and, and you get to like just nerd out and have this like really cool nerd debate.
I'm excited for this because you very, very lukewarm on this episode, but I actually liked it better than the first two.
And this is where the plot thickens.
Yes.
I too am excited. So let's go ahead and get into it. First off, tell me what you loved about. What was it about this particular episode that you loved?
Okay, so totally different setting. We're getting away from, for what felt like to me, the very like stereotypical Star Wars setting. We've introduced this new group. I know nothing about them. We're on a new planet. we're getting the backstory of the twins, and the way that the Jedis were presented in this environment, I thought was very interesting. And I know I talked a little bit about it on our first episode, but we're seeing the Jedi in this time frame where they're kind of out and about doing what they want. But the way that it's presented in this show is very like it's a little bit sus, because you've got these two little girls. We don't really know I don't really know what's going on with this coven of witches.
Nobody does. I will say this.
Okay.
This is entirely new. I think that's part of where some of the heavy criticism comes. We've never seen anything like this before. Never.
Okay. Is there at least something in the Star Wars world that co-aligns with like a group like this existing? Or
actually, it's a galaxy. Okay.
Okay.
First off. Okay, so the closest thing I can think of is the Witches of Dathomir. They are a coven of witches. They are force-sensitive women, but they still refer to the Force as the Force. They still refer to the Force as the light sides and dark sides of the Force.
Okay. So if this was like predating that, like in its infancy, is it a possibility like they're just using their own terminology at this point in time? Like the terminology hasn't been established yet. Is that possible?
Okay, it's possible. It's possible, but there's two things that lead me to sort of detract from that. One is that the Jedi are well established as Guardians of the Galaxy, Defenders of the Galaxy. Sorry, Marvel. No crossovers here. And but they've been established for 1,000 years in time. So and this coven is well familiar with the Republic, well familiar with the Jedi, and even well familiar with the Force, because even in the episode they talk about, some call it a Force. You know, they're well familiar with the terminology. Now, so I don't know if it's not something that's been established or not. As far as it being sort of a Witches of Dathomir in its infancy, the other thing that gets me there is literally all of them are dead by the end of the episode.
That's true.
So
that's
like,
true.
What? Okay.
Yeah, it was nice to meet you. Now you're gone. Thank you very much. See you later.
Wham, bam. Thank you.
You're right.
Fred.
You're right. There are a lot of questions revolving that.
Yes.
And I could see as if I were familiar with the setting, I would be like, what? You know, like, okay.
Yeah.
But looking at it through my perspective of not, really knowing or caring about any of, what should be or how people, the source stuff. I really liked the Jedis coming in like, hey, we're going to take your kids. And these women are being like, oh, the hell you are. And I personally, I think it's interesting because I like the spin that the Jedis are kind of like suspect here. Like, of course, no one wants you to come in and like take their children. That's very like demonic, like Soldam Wheel of Time behavior. Like some force comes in, some group comes in and says, hey, your kid has this special ability. They're coming with us. And of course, you're going to fight that, right? So like, I think it gives the Jedi this very nuanced like feeling where it's like, okay, but like they're not monolithic. Okay. They're not monolithic as a culture where it's like, we only do good. We only come into the show and like, we're the force of, good. We're the good guys. We're not going to do anything that's messed up. Like everyone who's with us is a good guy. And I like them kind of coming in with this group, and it's just the 4, right? Like, this
Right.
is why May has her kill list. And I think it's interesting because now we can have like an opportunity to see like, okay, is it just this one group that was kind of out and about doing this? Was this a larger thing? Is this why the Jedis at some point have enemies now? Like, why people are trying to fight with them actively, like as we see like in, other stories within this setting. So like I liked that. And I think the witches were fine. They were fun. I thought that the 2 girls, I don't know if they had twin girls actually acting as May and Osha, or if it was just one girl, acting as both of them. But I think they did a really good job. But also, like, it was really interesting, that beginning where there's this little like floating butterfly jellyfish thing.
Yeah.
And you get that one sense that the one twin was going to like kill it or smash it or something.
Yeah.
And so you've got like, oh, okay. So now like we're going into some like fully fledged like behavioral problems of this one child, where it's like, she is not all right. And I should have gone back and rewatched that, because I thought it was May that was going to kill it, but now I'm not sure if it was May or Osha. So I don't know, like one of these kids has some issues, but also like, are they aware of how they came to be? Because we had that conversation of like, the one woman carried them and the other woman brought them into life,
created them.
Created them. And I'm like, oh, okay, so like now are we getting into like some weird like religious undertone, or like a really science fiction undertone where it's like, are they like in vitro fertilization, but it's 2 women?
You carried them?
Like,
that's cute.
yeah.
Thank you for being my incubator.
Yeah, right.
That was actually one of the conversations. That was like one of the bits of dialogue that I really kind of had a problem with, because it was like, this person's like, I carried them, like I have responsibility for these kids too, and the other one's like, nuh-uh. And that's it. Like, that's the end of the like, that is so toxic.
Like, but it's also like, these women seem like pretty nefarious as well. So like, we don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
What led them to be in hiding? What led them to be, when they're introduced, they are fully on defense. They're like, we're here, we're on this place, we're alone for a reason. And it's giving like sect, like a weird small religion that is frowned upon to be in. So they went somewhere outside of the grasp of like societal norms. And so they're like, we're hiding here, and we're hiding these kids here. And I don't know if we'll get more answers about them. I hope we do. If we don't get any more answers about that, I do think this would change how I feel about the episode. But I still thought that it was an interesting topic and discussion about what's happening here in a way that it didn't feel very Star Wars. And maybe that's why I like it. Nothing against Star Wars, but it just felt different.
And I will say that a couple things that I did like about the episode, because again, my criticisms are specific, and that my criticisms, I am not someone, I refuse to build a platform on negativity, right?
But I still want to know. I still want to know.
Yeah,
why
and I will.
Like,
we'll get there.
What doesn't hit for you?
We'll get there. But with respect to that, I do have things in the show that I did enjoy. Again, Lee Jung-jae continues to be a really great piece of this show. His interaction with the child, where he's, this is my lightsaber, here, you can hold it, do you want to come? And he's the one that's stressing.
That was giving me like, you want a piece of candy?
Yes. He was the one who was stressing that they cannot be forced into this. You know,
Mhm.
this isn't something you and I appreciated that because we did get some clarification that, you know, Jedi are not out there snatching up children in the night and bringing them to the temple. It is a conversation where they tell the family, "Hey, your child has been born with the gift, and we would like to train them." Like, it is actually a consensual thing. I mean, consensual as much as
It
giving
it
up your
it
child is
seems it
consensual.
right, in this situation, it seems like it, yes, but no. Like, it felt like he was dangling something shiny in front
Yeah.
of her, like, he had the carrot and she went for it, but we
Well,
saw that
and
she had already had a like, she'd already mentioned being into Jedi beforehand, so it wasn't, like, so over the
right.
top, but
Well, and she was, and I got the impression too that they were real happy to sort of capitalize on uh, the fact that May and Osha were very much diverging paths, you know. And this is another piece of the show that I really really liked. You had the mother was sitting down and spent a lot of time with Osha, talking to Osha, parenting Osha. And May, I almost wonder if May's going to get to the point where she felt, I don't know, ignored, because May is okay. To make a biblical reference, you've got the prodigal son who goes off, does all his shit, comes back, the father, and then the first son is like, "Screw you! I've been here the whole time. I
it's
have been loyal
giving
and obedient the whole time, and he gets a party."
yeah, it's
And
giving
I
golden
actually,
child.
yeah, and I actually really hate the story because, yeah, you should not celebrate the idiot who's been stupid for 20 years just because he came back one day. Like, come on. But point being, I can see this as being a sort of prodigal child situation where Osha's like, I'm not feeling the witchy vibes. I'm kind of thinking I want to be a Jedi. Why
Yeah.
does she want to be a Jedi? We don't know. They just kind of, pixie dust over that whole entire plot point, which kind of goes into a criticism I have. But May, I feel like the reason why May is gaining in anger, or when May is sort of clinging so tightly to the witch tradition here, is because she sees Osha kind of being like, meh, and she's trying to win favor with mom. And this is a
Mm,
very real family dynamic.
yeah.
And I really loved how they did. And I also really respected, as a parent,
Mhm.
nothing drives me more insane than watching TV shows where the parents are idiots and the kids are just doing whatever the hell they want. And the parents are like, "Oh, I don't have a clue." And it's funny. Everybody thinks it's funny. I'm like, that's not funny. I don't find it funny at all. But I get it. It's a niche humor thing. But to see that very real, very emotional family dynamic, I really appreciated that. I really loved that. And in the end, they did respect Osha's choice. Of course they were
Mhm.
forced to test the kids, right? The Jedi were like,
Mhm.
"We're going to test them. Do not try us on this." And so they were like, "Okay, cool. Let's go." And Osha, wanted to be a Jedi. Like, for better or worse, for good or bad, that was her choice, and they were very respectful of that choice. And I
Mhm.
really did like that. I thought that was a really cool dynamic. Um, the other dynamic I really liked, the other thing that I really liked, and exactly what you were hitting on, is that the Jedi are kind of sus. The Jedi are kind of like, oh, we're the Jedi.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah.
bring them to us, and we will test them and take them to the temple. Because this is the High Republic. This is at the height of the Jedi arrogance. They have stood unchallenged for 1,000 years. And so for their behavior to be sort of blind
Mhm.
to, and it's, I don't even mean to say it like as in like a willful ignorance thing. Like, I straight up cannot see what other people go through because I've been a Jedi my entire life. I've been a member of an organization that has stood uncontested my entire life. So when I come in to a setting and say, you're going to do this, I fully expect complete and total compliance, because that's what everybody has done for the last 10,000 years.
It's like the feds showing up at your door, like, are you going to be like, kick rocks? Or are you going to be like, sure, I guess I'll do what you want me to? Like,
and you see the stress on these witches' faces. You see that they really are afraid of the Jedi for whatever reason. We don't know. Again, pixie dust over that plot point. Is it just general fear in general, or is there something there? I don't know. We don't know. We don't have that bit of story. But those are a couple things that I really, really, really appreciated about the show as a whole. So yeah, so that was the good. The bad. I'm gonna unload here because
please.
So and I'm gonna give this one a 50-50, but I didn't like it. I still didn't like it. And it is the expansion of the verbiage or the belief or the ritual nature of the Force that these witches have. This is something, as far as I can recall, this is something completely unique to the Star Wars universe.
Okay.
Everybody has always called it the Force. Everybody has always used dark side and light side. And then for the first time ever, you've got these people that are in there being like, it's a thread. Okay, well, my Wheel of Time heart is all skippy because I like to come on to theory shows every once in a while and say that Star Wars and the Wheel of Time are in the same universe, thus uniting my two biggest loves.
It's feeling like it, yeah.
And so when she starts talking about threads that are woven through time and space, I'm like, you guys heard that, right? You guys heard that, right?
Yeah.
But and I've even suggested that channeling in the Wheel of Time and Force using in Star Wars is the same thing. It's just different interpretations about how those powers work, how those things work. And therefore it still fits perfectly. So like I say, I give it a 50-50. 50% good because it checks that Wheel of Time box. It checks that, expansion of universe box that I love so much. But the best, it felt like, to me, they were just going a little extra with it. They went a little over the top with, this is not the Force. We're doing our own thing over here. And it was like, okay, I'm cool.
Okay.
I'm cool with it if you want to say it's still the Force, but these people have a completely and totally different interpretation of it, right? But the Force still has rules that have been extremely well established and actually, for the most part, have held up to scrutiny.
Did they break the rules anywhere in there?
They kind of did.
Okay,
never.
How so?
These rituals aren't like these big rituals, where they're dancing and pulling threads and power of one and, Force passing. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't break the rules, but it felt like they were trying to hard left turn.
Interesting.
In such a way that it was like, yeah, but is it the Force? Yes, it's the Force. No, it's a thread. And
okay.
maybe it's a deeper statement in that the Jedi came here because they felt threatened by different Force users, and the different Force users were going to have a different spin on it, which would threaten their power. I mean, okay, cool, I can see that. And again, as always, I'm reserving judgment until the entire series is out, because if there's one thing we've learned from Star Wars and the Wheel of Time, you just don't know until the end. There's something that wraps it all up in a nice, neat bow. And you go, well, that makes total sense now. I don't want to be here on episode 3 being like, the show's garbage, they ruined Star Wars. And then on episode 8 be like, oh, damn, it all makes
they
sense
fixed,
now.
they fixed the part that I thought was actually a problem. And now there's clarification. Yeah.
And so for this particular, and also the Acolyte is not ruining Star Wars. It's a bad TV show. It does not smear its badness over the entirety of the Star Wars universe. Get bent. Like, seriously.
Can I give you
Go back and just watch the movies, man. Just go back and watch the movies. They're unchanged. Well, kind of.
Kind of. Can I give you my interpretation of that on like a very basic surface level?
Yes,
because
please.
What I saw them doing to me as, total outsider here, I'm like, oh, okay, they're doing the exact same things that the Jedis do, only they've changed the verbiage and like the ritual behind it in a way that like, so let's talk about like, this is the easiest thing for me to compare it to, religion. Okay. So like,
Right.
like you have like Catholicism and Christianity, and then like you have all of these like different branches, like different flavors of it, right? And each
Right.
one tries to slightly, especially like newer ones, not like, I'm not going way back, but newer ones kind of start to break away and they establish their own things in the way that they're different, right? Like we're not Catholics, we're this, like we believe this is a little bit different here.
Right.
And that's like the foundation of our, thing. And with these witches, it felt to me like they know absolutely for a fact that they're using the Force. They're just like Jedis, but they've changed it in a way to be like, no, this is ours. We are different. Like, we're not like them. Like, this belongs to us. And I didn't see it as like breaking anything, but just like them trying to distance themselves from the Jedis in a really, really observable way. But
Okay.
that was just me,
Yeah. No, and I think that this is the fun part. I think that you and I had sort of the same interpretation. Is that
Yeah.
there's a desire for these witches to be removed somehow from the norm, from the stand from what's a good way to put it?
The baseline, the
I don't, from the squares, man. They don't want to be like everybody else. They're the original sort of Generation X. We're gonna rebel against the man, right? And the Jedi is the man, and we're not gonna take it.
That's kind of what it felt like, though. They felt like the feds, like showing up and being like, "Goes your children."
Well, and so this is where it gets kind of an interesting sort of take, because the Jedi show up. They very clearly force their way in, right? Like it's like there's no question the Jedi absolutely force their way in. They come in and they're like, "Yep, we're here. We're concerned you've been training children." And this comes into another piece of the episode that I was not entirely excited about.
Why are they the only ones allowed to train children, the Jedi?
Why are they the only ones allowed to train children? How did they even know about the children? Which is a point I think we're going to
interesting. Yes.
Good
They're
call. Outside of the Republic. So technically speaking, the Jedi are outside of their jurisdiction. Which, again, the witches moved to this planet very much moving outside of the Republic. Like that was their intent.
They're like the Amish, left Europe, came to the New World, and we're like, hey, can't touch us here.
Yep. And so the Jedi show up, and my guess is that this is one of those plot points that's going to be tied up later. They're going to say, they received intel. I mean, clearly they knew why they were there. We saw Master Soul hiding behind a tree spying on the They know why they're here. And so, I love the little. Oh, let's see if I can do it. So look.
No, it was very much that. Yes.
And so it's like, okay, cool. Like, okay, so they know why they're there. They are there for twin Force users. I get it. It's cool. But they come outside of the Republic. They're like, yeah. And then they like have all these like platitudes, which they really are just platitudes at this point. They have to be tested, but the choice is theirs. Then why do they need to be tested? If one already doesn't want to be a Jedi, then why does she need to be tested? You know, it's those kinds of like writing points that stick in my head. Like the Jedi make this big point to be like, oh, it's a choice. And the mother witch is like, okay, it must be their choice. It must be their choice. But they're like, really all they're doing is presenting this illusion of choice. Right. And maybe that's what they're going for here.
That's what that was my interpretation.
Yeah. But it upset me. Like, I didn't like how it was introduced into the show, because it feels a bit clunky to be in the same sentence to say, it is obviously their choice. We're not just going to take them, but they must be tested.
I just feel one way because I'm in such of like the camp right now where I'm like, yeah, show the Jedis being jerks. Make them bad guys. That will make me like them more, because I can't think of a time where it was like any of them were bad. Like they're always, I mean, look at Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. Like he looks like Jesus. Like he's such a, you know what I mean? Like they are such the good guys. And I think I really enjoy like giving this sprinkling of like, nah, make them bad. Make some outliers, you know, like, and I could definitely see though, if like, when you're doing something like this, it's bound to ruffle some feathers. Bound to.
And again, like, I agree with you. Like, my point isn't that. My point is that the writings felt clunky. Like, for me, if I want to present the illusion of a choice, I would say to them, oh yeah, it's their choice. You know what? It's like the Men in Black thing, you know. Oh yes, you know. Well, congratulations, well done. Just come on in here for an eye exam, and before you know it, you've been bamboozled. Show some deviancy. Show some underhandedness. You know, it was just very. It felt very, you know, very ham-fisted. You know. It felt very much like,
so a little too middle of the road. Like you would have liked to see more.
Well, it felt contradictory. It felt contradictory. Okay. Because I felt like Master Indara was like, of course it's their choice. We're not going to take them without your consent, but you have to bring them to us to be tested. And I'm like, what? How does that line of dialogue present to these people that they're being given a choice? And I feel like as a Jedi master, you would be better, more well versed at you know, easing someone into this and convincing them that they should want to, you know, which to me gives a better explanation for the division between Osha and May. Because now you've got the Jedi, like you said, you know, here's a piece of candy. But you've got May who's seeing Osha as being deceived, and because the Jedi are being really sly and really slick. And Osha, who's over here being like, no, the Jedi are good. As it is, Osha has no reason to think the Jedi are good, and every reason to think the Jedi are evil, because she's grown up on a planet where she's been taught that the Jedi are evil. So
that's a very good point. Very good point.
She has no reason to think that the Jedi are good. None whatsoever. But she does for whatever reason.
I mean, are they? Jedi, she's watching she's watching the news on her home planet in secret, like being bombarded with images of, I don't know,
Jedi propaganda,
saving Jedi out of trees,
peace through the galaxy.
Exactly.
So I feel like it would have been a little bit better if the dialogue were better in that it would illustrate the Jedi as something that is on the, Osha not wanting to be a witch or Osha questioning that, perfect, wonderful, absolutely amazing. That's the opening a Jedi would have used to be like, there is dissension here. We can prey on this.
Mhm.
Again, coming at them from an arrogant or sort of not so good standpoint. But as it is, they just kind of showed up and they were like, oh yes, of course it's your choice, but it's also not your choice. And it was just kind of like, okay, like really, that's it. That's your pitch. It's your choice, but not your choice.
You know what would have made it better for me is if instead of having Osha be very like interested in the Jedi, and you brought up a really good point, like how does she know that like they're good guys? Why is there an interest there? I think if they would have kind of tweaked it a little bit and made her much more inquisitive about the outside world, like a little bit of like, like a little bit of like Ariel, the Little Mermaid style. Like there's more out there. I want to see the world. I don't want to be stuck here for the rest of my life doing this thing. Like I want to travel. I want to see other worlds. That would have been a really great kind of way to propel her in a different direction while avoiding the trap of like, how does she know that the Jedi are good when this coven seems to be very like anti-Jedi? Like, where did she get that information? Yeah. And I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll address that later on. Maybe they won't. But what you're saying right now makes total sense. And I agree with you that is a bit of a plot hole.
Well, and again, maybe we find something later on. That kind of addresses that, and that's fine. Another aspect of the show that, and this is one that I found a lot of criticism online for, and I do have criticism for this particular plot point, but not for the same reason that everybody else does. Although I do see the point, and the point is children conceived by the Force. In canon, this has only happened one other time with Anakin. Also canonically, Darth Plagueis, Darth Sidious, Darth Vader, like a lot of the witches of Dathomir, who are the ones who helped train Darth Maul. They all tried to create life using the midichlorians, and were all unsuccessful. Now, maybe these witches have a different perspective on the Force that opens things and new methodologies and whatnot, and that's how they were able to do this. Great, whatever. The thing that got me was very much the conversation we had, and a little bit earlier in the show too, is you've got two mothers, one who is implied was the one who carried the children to term, and the other one who was the one who wielded the Force to create the life, to create the kids. Like, cool. But
I just thought that it was like, I just thought that it was like, what is it? Where like, forgive me. This is not where I thought that I would be going today in this conversation. My face is so red. Yeah, like to me, it just felt like it really is. Sorry. Okay. Whew, get that out.
You got this. You got this.
To me, it just sounded like she, egg and sperm came from the one woman and a man, and it was like implanted in the other woman. Like the one woman couldn't actually carry children. Like I wasn't actually
in vitro kind of a thing.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. Like in vitro fertilization into the other woman. And that was it. My brain did not even go towards anything mystical, like at all. But yeah, that would be weird if that's what happened. Like it was, Immaculate Conception
yeah.
Jedi or Star Wars style.
It just felt well, and that's what happened. That's what they did. Like, and that's why there's so much like, and what happens if the Jedi find out how they were conceived? You know, like the suggestion there, the very large suggestion is that they created these children with the Force, and that I don't. It to me, it doesn't take away from Anakin's role as the chosen one in the Pride. It just I don't see that. I don't see that as a valid point. Just because these two children were born several hundred years before Anakin.
How do you make a baby with the Force, though? Like, I'm real curious about this now.
Dude, canonically, it's only happened twice.
But how did that happen? Like, what?
I don't know. There's not given a lot of information on this. There is a comic that talks about Palpatine and his ability to manipulate the Force to conceive life, but there are theories that it was the Force creating Anakin was a backlash to Palpatine's experiments. I don't know. It gets real murky. Like, this is like real granular, real weird stuff when it comes to this. My understanding is lacking in this area. I am not the great Force academic that you see.
I mean, that's a weird area of study if you're a Star Wars.
Well, and you've got the Force Unleashed, which was the story was canonized, and in the Force Unleashed, you've got Darth Vader conducting experiments to build clones that are Force sensitive. In The Mandalorian, you've got that research station where they're collecting Grogu's blood to try and make a Force sensitive clone. Now, one piece of story plot that this actually fits really well is maybe, again, different religious perspective on the Force, able to accomplish something nobody else has accomplished. And this is the documentation that inspired Darth Plagueis to begin his research. Maybe that's the thing. And so that would actually set into motion the prophecy of the chosen one. But
that
again,
could be pretty cool, but we don't know if that's where they're going.
Guys, stop putting the carriage before the horse. Yes, we may get the last 5 episodes of this show and it might be garbage. It might not be. Episode 3 was a miss for me for some of the reasons that I just outlined.
I do think it's interesting, and I mean, I don't mean to go back into the Wheel of Time stuff now, but it would be interesting if they brought this. Yeah, I know if I have to. If they brought these witches in as an example of like something similar to the Wheel of Time, where it's like women trained in the White Tower, they get, the adequate training.
Yeah.
But sometimes when women are outside of the tower and outside doing things on their own, they start leveling up in a way because they're not restricted by those training ways of, the Aes Sedai. So like that could be an interesting twist with these witches where it's like we do things our own way. It might be more dangerous. It might be more risky, but we get different results.
Or it might not be, quote unquote, more risky. It might just be that, the Jedi have their way of doing things and we don't like that. And they obviously, like we were saying, they're all Force sensitive. All of them.
Right.
All of them can wield the Force based on what we saw with that ritual, the power of many, which. Okay.
I have a question. Sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
I was just going to say, so you clearly have all these people, and clearly the Jedi have no interest in any of these other people because, they're too old, they're adults. whatever. And that was the other thing about the kids. The kids are too old. So why do they care about the kids? Again, I don't think they actually want to train the kids at this point.
They usually go after younger kids.
Yeah.
Sus.
Usually like infants to toddlers. Like it's very, very young. You do not, because if you start getting to the point where you start developing attachments to family, developing attachments, that's when, you start being afraid of losing things, and fear leads to the dark side. So they get them when they're very, very young, so that they can, which actually mirrors the practice of some of the temples in China back in the day. They would take kids in to become monks when they were very, very young, and they would raise them their whole lives and they would have just devotion to the temple.
It's like, baptism. You do it to the baby. The baby is not saying like, hey, sign me up. It's just pour the water and bing, bang, boom.
Sprinkle, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting though. But my question was, what did they do to, I forgot the name, Tommen Baratheon, the guy that plays the Jedi that was like floating, sitting, that she gave poison to. What did they actually do to him where he kind of like lost his senses there for a second?
I don't know. But I loved it. I did love it.
Because I like that too.
You watch the original Star Wars movies, and I love them. But the Force essentially can be reduced to telekinesis. It's like, oh yes, I will move this ball with my mind, and then some sort of a method of enhancing your reflexes and whatnot. So when they come in to, and I know that when Episode 7, The Force Awakens, came out, everybody got mad that Kylo it's not canon. Shut up. First off, it is, because they just made it canon because he just did it. Secondly, like, are we really complaining that there's an expansion of the power of the Force? Like, we've been asking for this for years. And again, everyone I've talked to was happy about that.
Okay.
And then, of course, there are people online who are just never happy with anything. And as I said, fuck those people. I love seeing the introduction of new Force abilities, because the Force is this mystical energy. The Jedi even admit they don't understand it. They don't understand a 10th part of it.
I would be a menace to society if I could do something like that. Like, I would be finding ways. I'd be finding tricks.
There is 100% chance I would use the Force inappropriately.
You're right.
I am not a noble person. I am no Steve Rogers. I am nope. Like, I wouldn't be just like downright evil to people. But
no. But I'd be very ornery.
That really annoying guy that, like, you're driving down the road and he cuts you off and then slows down in front of you and then flips you off like you did something, like tire pop. Like,
yeah. Boop. Boop.
Yeah.
No, I thought that was pretty cool. I was hoping that, honestly, I was hoping these witches were going to throw down. I was ready for a full-on large-scale battle, and that's what I was hoping for. But what we got was, I mean, this was my biggest criticism of the episode, that I wouldn't call it a plot hole. It was just maybe something that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah.
When May traps Osha and sets fire to everything.
Yep.
It felt very it it didn't feel very like real that someone would make that decision. It felt like a
Right.
very extreme lack in logic, unless you're ascribing like some very extreme behavioral problems to this child, where like we're
Yeah.
talking about, you know, like she's not just bad, she's like really, really bad, and there's no turning back from it. And that display felt more over the top and evil and destructive than anything that we've seen from May in
Yeah.
the current time. Because now
Yeah.
she's just like, okay, yeah, I'm killing people, but killing strangers who, you know, killed your family, that's one thing. But trying to kill your sister, that's a bigger, much bigger step to make. And it's much more extreme. And it's a lot more difficult to
Yeah.
understand why. And of course, like, why is she? I mean, if this is the same child, she should be like a raving, absolute evil menace of an adult.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know what, you know,
Yeah.
what that was, but that's really like my only like main complaint.
So I have a couple of theories on this. So my criticism, this is absolutely a scene that I also did not like at all. But for a little bit of a different reason.
Okay.
My guess is that if the Jedi knew about this variance in the Force, the Sith also knew. My guess is that the Sith were already there and they were already
Mm,
influencing May in secret, which is
okay.
why May hates the Jedi automatically. Because again, like, I don't know, she has plenty of reason to hate the Jedi, which is also why it makes sense that the Sith would be there. Like,
Right. Like,
um,
hey, you hate this guy, we hate this guy. Let's
let's why she has, desires to use the Force destructively.
Mhm.
That's why, so there's these kinds of things. So my guess is that there's going to be, in the next couple of episodes, there's going to be a Sith already there who killed the witches. I don't think May did all that. There's no way May did all that by herself.
Do you think the call could have came from within the house? Do you think someone in the coven could actually be Sith?
um I'm not trying to say that the woman with horns is evil, but I don't recall seeing Coral's body anywhere on the floor. All the rest of
That's
them were like splayed out. So I'm wondering, I don't know. Like I said, I think we're
that's
going to get some,
that's a great theory. I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
but the part of this scene that really just irritated the crap out of me was they're literally in a stone and metal fortress. Why did it catch on fire? What caught on fire? What caught on fire? What?
Well, okay, if you can use the force, if you can use the force, really, like, fire loves oxygen. So if she started the fire and just, you know, can do some, you know,
Force
like,
fire.
yeah,
Burn the
like if you,
bricks.
that's why you fan the flames, you know, like you can
Yeah.
get it going. So she was somehow able to do that with the force. Sure, I can hand wave that.
Yeah.
You're like, I
The
don't know.
force did burn the rocks. Ah, the force did burn the rocks. Um,
Well, that's true. Like you would need a lot of like a lot
it
of accelerant.
it
Look.
just again, I'm hoping there's gonna be some kind of like the Sith spent months hiding explosives in the barrack. I don't know. There's got to be something more to this. I can't. My suspension of disbelief is already stretched pretty tight with space wizards who have laser swords. Like I get it. Like I'm already in a galaxy far, far
Yeah.
away, but the fire doesn't burn bricks or metal, not without incinerating
Accelerant.
all the
Yeah.
other like soft flesh in the vicinity as well.
Right, right. I mean, maybe I don't know. Did the rocks actually burn? Did I
They
just filter that out?
because okay, when she closed the door and she lights the book on fire and then like blows the fire onto the rocks, like it spread right through the door almost instantly, and that was a metal door, right?
Mm.
And
Did
the
it
floor was
did
stone
it go
and the
under the
walls were
door and then
stone.
like out and up? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure,
Yeah.
but
So
I mean, I guess for me that's still like it's weird, but also like I don't know enough about the force in general to be able to be like you can't do that. You can't do that because
well,
if I can already, like levitate things, I'm like, why can't I make a big fire?
I suppose if they come through and they say that this fire was somehow amplified with the force. Again, I can see some kind of Sith influence here, being like, "This is what you do, and it will take
Hmm.
care of your." And then May being tricked, because it's a very Sith thing to do, to trick you into thinking you did something to prey on your suffering and bury you deeper in the dark side. That's a very Sith thing to do. So I think we're going to find out that May was deceived. The Sith
Hmm.
actually did all the killing, but they're going to make her think that it was her fault, which is, and well, not her fault, but the Jedi's fault, seeing that as her fuel for training in the dark side of the Force.
Yeah,
But it was
that would
just
be
it was, I don't know.
too much all at
It was too
once.
much. It was too much
Yeah.
all at once. Give me
Yeah.
something. And then they come to the end. And this is actually a part that I really liked that I didn't get to see. But when the kids come to the end, they're on the bridge. The bridge is divided, and they're both like, "Come with me, come with me." I love this metaphorical choice imagery, right?
Hmm.
May singing, "Come back to where it is safe and we know and everything is going to be okay again." And Osha being like, "Come with me. We're literally dying right now."
Right.
And, they fall. And then it goes back to, once again, something that I kind of had a problem with. Master Saul says, "I watched your sister burn." No, he didn't.
Right.
So, which again fuels my fire that he's the Sith.
Okay, again,
Or
I
he's
still
if he's
love
not
this
the Sith, he's
theory.
a bad guy.
Right. Right. I love this theory. I hope that that's actually the direction that they take this in because there's something about him that still feels very untrustworthy.
Yes.
I can't put my finger on it just yet, but I like how this actor is portraying this character in a way where there's a floating question mark over his head.
Yeah. And I mean, we even see things like in the first, was it the first or the second episode, where she's backing up to the cliff and she falls and he uses the force to hold her up. Well, when May and Osha are standing on the thing, he doesn't use the force at all. He literally reaches out with his hand and pulls Osha up, and, "Oh no, sorry May, bye." Like,
Bye.
I wonder if is it just Jedi arrogance? It's like, well, she didn't want to come anyway, so I guess she can die with everybody else, and they just
Right.
assume she's dead,
Yeah,
or
why didn't they try and save her? I mean,
or
they could have saved
they,
everyone,
they
right?
see the Sith and looking for a new apprentice, and it's going to be much easier to mold the apprentice that already trusts him.
Right?
So it's you could even probably go so far as to suggest that Master Soul and whoever this other mysterious Sith is, they're working together. They're in cahoots. Like, who can train the better thing? I don't know. I don't
I
know.
love that. I think at this point it would be a really awesome story to bring in like an almost scientific experiment of like what are we looking for in terms of a child that we can train to be like the best at being the worst. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how do we do this in a way to reach, like the top here? And I don't know. I think it's I don't know, like maybe that's why I like the shows, because it feels like there's a lot of possibilities where they could be going with it. In the end, our theories might be better than the final product. I don't know, but we shall see.
We
Very
shall
balanced.
indeed see. Why? Because we're going to keep watching the show. Because we are not those who will blindly dismiss and move on with our days. We are people who like to enjoy things. And look, you can criticize something all you want, and you can not like something all you want, but that doesn't discount the rest of everything else in the Star Wars. The Star Wars universe is so freaking huge. And if you want to cut thy nose off despite thy face,
We're
you
getting
absolutely can. You absolutely can. But guess what? I'm going to wake up every morning living in a world where I love Star Wars. And that's not going to change because they made a couple of TV shows that didn't land, or that were not as great, or were not up to par. Like I said, the storytelling in this episode specifically feels clunky to me. The dialogue feels clunky to me. I'm willing to go a pass on the child actors because child acting.
They're children, yeah.
Like, come on, give them a break, guys. I recognize there are amazing child actors in the world. Like, I just, brief tangent, I just took my kids and saw If. The movie was like, pretty good. Like, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and it wasn't nearly as good as I thought it was going to be, but it was still pretty good. But the child actor that they had in there, oh my God, she was amazing. She was absolutely amazing. So yes, there are great child actors out there. These two ain't it. I'm sorry.
So
they're children actors.
I thought they were perfectly adequate, but I mean, like I think for me it's more of a consistency with the writing and not the acting, where it was like I wasn't quite sure of the motivations and things felt a little bit off in terms of like she was really, really bad. Now she's just kind of bad. And like I would, probably tighten that up a little bit and make it not so over the top of trying to murder her sister and like cold blood because her sister wants to leave. Like, that's wild.
Yeah. And that's why I say, like, my main criticisms for this episode come from a standpoint of dialogue and sort of plot. The plot being kind of all over the place and not really given a lot of explanation as to what's going on or why we care.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those situations.
Yeah. That said, I still think this was my favorite episode so far.
Oh my God. You're just so woke and stupid.
Can't help it.
Anyway, thank you so much for joining us today, Amber. I really appreciate you. I always love doing these episodes with you because I always appreciate your perspectives on some of these things. And
ditto.
I also love that even though you're wrong about this episode, that we still maintain a really great friendship. For all those of you who want to know, look in the link below and go follow Road to Tarvalon, where they do all kinds of fun breakdowns. And
it's just me.
Where Chi does all kinds of breakdowns and fun stuff. And if you want some like real intelligent insights on some real fun stuff, go there.
Yeah, and we did a whole series on Shogun that's on both of our channels. And honestly, like, this has been so fun, and thanks for having me on your channel and coming back, because I love getting to hear your thoughts on this, and I love getting to know more about this this, setting and learning more about it in that way. But also, I really appreciate your criticisms. I don't think you're an asshole about it, and I think it's really
Aw.
fun, and I appreciate it so much. I have a blast. So yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks everybody out there for watching. Let us know what you thought about the Acolyte. Like I said, you're free to your opinion. I'm not going to be angry at you or mad at you or ostracize you because you have an opinion. If you don't like gayness in Star Wars, cool, man. That's you. You don't have to. You're not required to. If you don't care, guess what? You're also not required to care about it. Thank you so much for watching, though. I hope that when you watch these episodes that we can at least have a nice discussion about it. That's what I want, because I don't care how you feel about it, but I do care when people start bringing like negativity in. For if you were one of the people who bullied Jake Lloyd online, fuck you. If you're one of the people who bullied any of the actors, there's so many actors that just removed themselves from social media entirely. If you're one of them, fuck you. And I mean that from the depth of my soul. You don't have to like a show. You don't have to like a movie. But you do have to not be an asshole to the people. Being mad at an actor because the TV show is bad or the movie is bad is like getting mad at the waiter because your steak was overcooked. They had nothing to do with that. They had very little to do with that whole process. And if that's you, if you're over there messaging Hayden Christensen, you're a piece of shit and we hate you, you're the problem. And I need you to go away forever.
That's wild behavior.
It is. It is unacceptable behavior. It is so bad. Anyway, sorry, that was my rant for the day. I'll call my therapist after this and cry. But thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks so much for watching and for being here with us. Go over to Road to Tarvalon, follow them. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button over there. Come back over here, and if you haven't already done it, hit the subscribe and like button over here as well, because you want to. And then because you don't want to miss anything, you got to ring the bell, because that's the thing with YouTube. Yeah, wherever you are, I hope you leave here just a little bit more geeky than you were when you first got here.
3, 2, geeks, 1, Mike.
That's right. Stay geeky, my friend.